actually didn't know as much as I know now about FCN, because as I say, when you came down to speak to us being, you know, past tense, I used to work over down in London. You came, I think one of your representatives came there, and for the young farmers. But I only just found out today, you've just said there's like about 4 sections to the FCN, isn't there? There's also the farm, you know, the health advice. And then there was about 3 other sections. It's just gone off the top of my head. But what is it exactly that you offer in those 4 sections? So you've moved on from the days of mental health services, which was pretty bad at the time of foot and mouth, where farmer suicides. Wasn't there a statistic then as well that farmer suicide, or no, farming was more dangerous than the front line of Afghanistan in 2001, wasn't it? From the deaths of various different things.
I haven't heard that. I mean, I suppose if that's one way you could sort of skew that statistic, I suppose, if you wanted to. But I wouldn't personally say that. But in terms of the different things that FCN provides, so one thing we're quite well known for is our helpline that we operate, which is open 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. 365 days of the year. And so it's very much there to be available to farmers kind of whenever in the day they wouldn't necessarily need someone to talk to. And in terms of that service, often it is talking to someone. You know, perhaps if someone is particularly stressed out about something or worried about something, they don't know who to speak to, they don't think anyone around them will understand, or it's something they feel they can't necessarily talk about with a family member, then FCN is there to talk and listen. We also do a lot of signposting. We work very collaboratively with other charities, which I mentioned. And so in some respects, FCN can be the first port of call, where a farmer is facing all manner of issues. You know, in terms of the calls that we get to FCN, it can be everything from relationship issues, financial problems, uncertainty about the future. We're getting calls about Brexit, for example, and the agricultural transition plan. So it can be all sorts of things people talk to us about, and then we're there to listen and to support as best as we can. On top of that, FCN is also well known for our Farmwell platform, which is an online platform, which has got information in relation to personal and business resilience. There's loads and loads of information on there, often signposting to other websites, but some of the content on there is bespoke as well, that can help either you personally. Let's say, for example, you've suffered a bereavement and you're looking for bereavement services, or you're looking for spirituality or whatever it might be. There's resources on there. But then there's also information about future-proofing your farm business, things to take into consideration. And that's an evolving site that we keep adding to as more information comes from the government, for example, in relation to how agriculture is changing over the next 5 years and beyond. We also have a campaign called Time to Plan, which we're running at the moment, which is really focusing on the need to prepare now, in particular, with all the changes coming. And what we're doing is we're working with all sorts of organizations and thought leaders within the industry to create guidance and tips, and also information articles, all sorts of things, to help farmers plan ahead for the future, look into things like diversification, information around managing change and the process of going through change, and all sorts of other kind of useful information resources that are on our Farmwell website. So those are some of the things that FCN are known for. But on top of that, I should also mention that FCN has local groups in over 30 counties throughout England and Wales. And we very much operate at a very local level, and particularly in normal times. So I describe normal times when we're actually allowed to go out and about. And so FCN will be present at markets, shows, local events, those sorts of things, and where farmers are perhaps going through that sort of difficult time and need someone to perhaps go out to them. Then sometimes FCN volunteers will do farm visits, where they'll go and they'll meet the farmer, they'll talk to them about what it is. And it's all about supporting people, listening to them, giving them that voice that they may not necessarily have elsewhere, and helping them get through whatever it is, whatever adversity it is that they're going through.
Sure. So you're not a lobbying side. You see, giving them the voice that they might not have elsewhere, but you mean a voice for someone to listen to, or is in government voice? Yeah,
we don't lobby government really. You know, that's not really what FCN's here for. So we're here to walk with farmers through those difficult times, and we provide practical and pastoral support. We don't lobby. There are other organizations that are more involved in fighting that corner for farmers, and that's fantastic. But FCN is really here to listen and support the farming community.
And how have you done now? Because obviously since March, I mean, obviously anyone listening outside of the UK may not know, but obviously anyone here knows that certainly since March and since December in this last one, which has now been over a month, you can't do farm visits, can you? Or is there some allowance for you for someone who maybe go around for bereavement, for example, or someone who maybe is having a problem with their mental health? Are you still allowed to go around, or are you blocked from the farm gate at the minute?
At the moment, the suggestion and the advice is obviously to adhere to government restrictions and local guidelines and rules. So particularly at the moment, because we're in a national lockdown in England, there are quite heavy restrictions. But obviously over the past year, you've had various different tiers that different counties have been in. And so it's been obviously playing within the rules that people have been able to play within. We have moved more to remote model in terms of where possible, operate over the phone, conduct Zoom calls, which is appropriate for some farmers, not necessarily all, because not all farmers will have a stable internet connection or even perhaps the internet at all. But where possible, we're encouraging those phone calls or those Zoom interactions. Where we've unfortunately not been able to operate in the way that we perhaps normally would is in things like shows and events where we normally have quite a significant representation. We would have stands and banners and things. And obviously that side has just not been practical or possible. And so that's one thing that we are looking forward to doing when we get back out into normal times, hopefully, once the virus goes. But yeah, I mean, our service is still there. We've still operating the helpline to the same hours that we always have been. And we know that right now farmers perhaps need that help more than ever, or certainly, as much as they have. So it's absolutely imperative that we still help however we can.
I would have thought there'd been, at least you would have hoped there'd been like some allowance. I mean, as you were saying, the connection, I mean, the very fact that I'm down in the village church because I can't get a connection suitable enough for a Zoom call at my house on our farm is testament to that. I mean, obviously, it's all well and good people making the policy saying do this and do that from home, whereas you can't farm from inside your house. You've got to go outside at some point, and you can socially distance. But again, it's something like to get the real pastoral side of FCN, it'd be much better in person. It's a shame there's no allowance as such that you could do. I mean, you've got to try and work around it still. But has it been a hindrance? Has it not been much of a hindrance since then, or have you found that it's worked?
It's worked as best as it can work, I'll say. I mean, I would say in terms of the available support that FCN can provide, there's obviously been some impact on that, and on from a fundraising perspective as well. We found it harder this year to raise funds, but I'm sure any charity would tell you the same, because after one significant leg of fundraising is fundraising through events, and it's been more challenging. But what I would say is that we've found kind of other ways to work around the situation that we're in. So one thing we've did last week, which is really exciting, we've got another one coming up on the 16th of February, is last week we did an online event with Julian Norton, the Yorkshire vet, which a lot of people will know from the Channel 5 show, The Yorkshire Vet. And that was an event in support of FCN. So all money raised from the ticket sales came to FCN. My dog, waiting for that to happen.
It's all right. Playing the guard dog.
Yeah, they like, I've got some treats, so hopefully they'll show up. But yeah, so the Julian Norton event was really successful, and it was just a really good opportunity to bring people together, even though it wasn't in a physical location. We've still got hundreds of people tuning into that, so that was great. And the event that we've got coming up on the 16th is with Amanda Owen, the Yorkshire Shepherdess, and she's star of Our Yorkshire Farm, which is another very popular TV show. And so these sorts of events are us trying to find flexible ways to continue to raise awareness about FCN and to fundraise for FCN through the virtual means that we sort of have to at the moment.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'll give them a shout out when next time it's on. When did you say it was on?
The 16th of February is the Amanda Owen event, and there's details about that including booking tickets on the FCN website. If you just scroll down on the homepage, there's information about booking your ticket. So very much encourage as many people as possible to get involved in that. It's going to be a good evening, and if it's anything like the Julian Norton event, it's probably going to be quite entertaining and perhaps a little bit quirky and surprising too. So.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'll try and tune in and say we'll see. I don't actually know what I'm doing then, but given that it's lockdown, probably not a great deal. So definitely try.